I've been fortunate to coach a lot of guys that are just strong character, and that comes from, I think how he's been brought up from his family, and he's a kind person, and he enjoys the game. He has a love for the game and is lighthearted, and so I think that's a credit certainly to his family, and again, he just has always been that way, and he's a competitor, but yet enjoys it and understands, I think, the big picture in regards to that.
Front right.
Tony, I think it's fair to say maybe a portion of the fan base had maybe been down on Kihei at times this year because of his offensive production. Was what he was able to do yesterday defensively, chasing loose balls, getting rebounds and steals, sort of indicative of why he's continuing to be a big part of your rotation and starting?
Yeah, no, he's been so valuable, and you can't concern yourself with the opinion of others. He's helped us. He guards the ball hard. He scraps, and he's made some good offensive plays for us. Gives us a dimension that we haven't had in a long time. And again, you asked specifically defensively, and it's that when you play against certain kinds of teams that have elite quickness, and you can set your defense with good ball pressure, that's really important. And he's allowed us to do that. And then, again, offensively, he can touch the paint and made some really good plays and passes for us. So he's so competitive, and he brings that. And I think that is contagious when you watch that. When you're behind that and he's setting your defense and you're a player, I think that can be inspiring or get the guys going. Taking charges, he's done that over the course of the year.
Right side.
Tony, Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch. You've told us a few times this year that you've encouraged the guys to take joy in the pursuit of a championship. You've also told us in past years that your disappointment in losses stems from wanting your guys to win, wanting them to experience success. Final Four is the thing that they want. I'm curious how you strike a balance of finding joy in the pursuit of a championship versus any pressure you feel to get some players that you obviously care about as far as they can go.
Yeah, we talk, it was actually a quote in a book I read, the joy of competition and the fun in the pursuit of a championship. Let's talk about that can't define you in terms of who you are, but it's worth it to go after it for all you're worth. These guys have been gifted. All the players and teams in this tournament have such gifts, and it's a worthy goal to go after. Only one gets it, but I think you, as a coach, certainly you have goals and dreams for yourself, and when you spend as much time with these young men, getting to know them, going through the ups and the downs and the battles, it's just they're an extended part of your family, and you want to see it go well for them and the program. So I think it's just our theme this year was, is united pursuit. And that's, I think, a good way to kind of summarize what it's about. You're so united in everything through this pursuit. And, that means in success, and that also means in failure. And if, you can keep that balance, I think that helps. But it certainly, it's a great desire for everyone.
Left side.
Tony, you've taken some transfers at Virginia, and they've usually been players who were starters at their other schools. What do you tell them about playing time? Everybody wants to play. And also, for guys like Nigel and Braxton who are immediately eligible, how challenging is the pack line in your system in general to learn so quickly?
Yeah, I think when you come into a program that has been fortunate enough to have success, you have to say, do you want to be a part of this? And you can't guarantee anything unless here's a spot, X amount of minutes, but that's so fluid. You just want guys that are willing to go get everything that they earn. And sometimes, they maybe earn less than they get, but will they be willing to be united, in the pursuit of what we're trying to do? And I think there is always a learning curve when you come from a different system. Now, I think the experience that transfers have is playing in this game, and they understand the physicality and the intensity. A guy like Braxton, who played in the SEC and had, played in an NCAA tournament game, or two, that's invaluable. So, and he was, an important part in his, I think it was 12 minutes. Every game, as we've seen this year, sometimes it's more minutes, sometimes it's less. But he understood that when he became eligible this year, with DeAndre and some of the established guys there, it was going to be, and we talked about that, we'll plug you in where we can, and you'll get what you earn, and just keep plugging because he's an important part of this.
The left side.
Yeah, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. OU hasn't had the season it wanted until yesterday when they played really well. They're a senior-dominated team, 6, I think, play. Did you sense when you watched them play or through the video that those guys have a sense of urgency now that they're into the road? And in your experience, is that a factor, do you think, in the NCAA tournament?
Of course it is. I think, just playing high-level ball at the right time. We were in Atlanta in the early season tournament over Thanksgiving, and they were playing a little different now. They're playing real big. I think Doolittle was playing the 3 sometimes, and they have the talent. Coach Kruger is one of the best coaches there is. When I was at Wisconsin, he was in the Big Ten, and I've followed him and have a great amount of respect for him. But what he's done with last year's team was very good in how he's taken this team and used the versatility as strengths in it, how it culminated yesterday and other games. It wasn't just yesterday, but was impressive. So to have experience, to have veterans, and sort of that end of the road or seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, there is certainly a sense of urgency. So they showed it at a high level yesterday, and they cause some or present problems matching up with them because they score in unique ways.
Front on the right.
Tony, Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. You said a moment ago Kyle is lighthearted. Is he all business on the court and practice and everything, or do you sometimes have to remind him that this is a business type deal? And how did you find out about him, and how did you get him to come to UVA?
I think he enjoys. There's a joy to the game. He enjoys playing. He has fun on the court, but he's competitive and he plays hard. And I haven't had a problem with him. Say be more business-like because he works hard. But I found out about him. We were watching another guard, and Coach Sanchez said, "Hey, look at this skinny guy on the other court." I think we was in Chicago at an Adidas event. We kept watching. We're like, "Well, he's pretty thin. I don't know." And he just kept making buckets, and again was real competitive. And you just your eye caught him, and we followed him more and loved him, and thought, boy, he could be really good. And so we got involved, and weren't sure, being a kid from the Midwest Indiana, if we could lure him or get him interested in us, but it worked out. We connected, and I think he really took off. I think once he committed to us and he became a McDonald's All-American. he was highly recruited, but I think we got him committed, and then it just went to another level. So I'm glad we got in early, and I'm glad that Coach Sanchez pointed out the skinny kid on the court to the left of me.
Front row in the center.
Hey, Tony, Gene Wong, Washington Post. How has Mamadi's game developed offensively over the last few years? I think back to last season at Syracuse, he made a bunch of acrobatic jumpers, like falling away, awkward angles. Is that kind of an underappreciated part of his game?
Yeah, I think he's just gotten better and better. And Ty made the comment yesterday. It was a little bit shaky start for everyone, and Mamadi's matured in the sense that he fought through that, and he gave us some play on the offensive rebounding. Some post moves and finishing, and he does have touch, and it's just in increments. It's just gotten better every year, and I think it's just maturity, it's experience. He's, I always say, a little newer to the game than most kids from America, and he's, again, showed great flashes, and that's become more consistent, and he had a really good outing yesterday in a big-time setting.
Second row on the left.
Dean Blevins, News 9 Sports. Coach, Oklahoma had a big day yesterday in paint points.
Yeah.
And it seems you stressed that. Can you talk about that matchup?
We stress that on offense or defense, keeping them out of the paint?
Just the paint points. Yeah,
Sure.
you defensively.
Okay. Yeah, they shot, I think it was 62% inside the three-point line from two-point range yesterday, and scoring 95 points, and I think they only took 13 threes. That shows you their efficiency and how they run their actions, and again how their bigs can back you down in their guards and post you up and play. It's going to be a war in that regard. It's kind of going to be bend but don't break, because they have the ability to create their own, and that's the test, because they can space it. I don't know if Brady would be their 4 or their 5, but he can space it. Doolittle can go to work as he's working the post, so they put some pressure on you with that, but we have to be as good as we can at, making them shoot the contested shots. That's our goal every game defensively. That's kind of the pack line mentality. Can you pressure the ball but be jammed up and make people shoot the majority of their shots contested and bothered, not at the rim.
Sorry, Coach. Right
That's
side.
okay.
Tony, before the opener, we were talking about, the guys were talking about the TED Talk that you showed them, and earlier Kyle mentioned that you quoted Friday Night Lights, wondering how recent that was. And also when it comes to finding things to motivate them or push their buttons, do you enjoy kind of playing part coach, part psychologist when it comes to that stuff?
Well, I love movies. I love quoting movies, so that's movie lines. Kyle loves to quote Fletch, so there you go. Oh, he already left. He was asking if I thought, did he leave? All right. You wanted to know more about Kyle's kindness. I guess I didn't give him enough the first time. So, but he can quote a lot of Fletch lines. But yeah, no, Friday Night Lights. You know, clear eyes, full heart, can't lose. I mean, everybody knows that, and that's such a good thing. But I think as a coach, you're always trying to find ways to. I don't know if it's sometimes. I can remember quoting a kid from a line from the Karate Kid, and I'm talking to our guys, and they're looking at me sort of blank, and I'm thinking of the original Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio, and they're like, no, they're thinking of the one after that. So sometimes my age shows up, and I can't quite connect. But, yeah, you try to motivate in different ways, use things. That's I think, some of the fun stuff and seeing how you can connect with the guys. But some things, just click with guys and respond, and that's part of coaching, teaching, motivating, trying to inspire them, encourage them, challenge them, get after them. It's all mixed in.
Back row on the left.
Tony, you mentioned Kyle mentioned that with you guys going to Battle for Atlantis, you saw Oklahoma then.
Yeah.
Did you have a first impression with them? And to also kind of add on to that, how much do you feel like you guys have grown since that tournament as well?
Yeah, they were huge. The way they were playing, their size. They were one of the bigger teams. And again, they're playing now. It's interesting, at the time they would play Doolittle, Kristen it is, at the 3 at times. Now they're playing them sometimes, again, 4 or 5, and doesn't mean they can't, but we just remember their size, and we did not end up playing them. We played solid basketball there. We were, had a good tournament and ended up winning that. So, we just saw, I think it was, they played Wisconsin, and I think we would have played the winner of that if I can't remember the Wisconsin-Oklahoma game. So, one of our coaches at the Scout said, I haven't seen a team that big, and Wisconsin had a good game against them then. But have we improved since then? I think every team improves in certain ways. So I just think we've become more settled. Different guys have stepped up. Braxton Key has, he's been good for us, and he's established himself more and more. Mamadi at times, Kihei, those guys who are a little more experienced now have really added to our program.
Left side, third row.
Hi, Ben Brenner from the State. With the Friday Night Lights reference, first, what was kind of the message and the point you were trying to get across with that? And could you see the guys kind of get it? And do you have any Friday Night Lights fans on the team?
I don't know if the guys got it or not. So no, it was the quote: "Clear eyes, full heart, can't lose." And it's just if you clearly understand, who you are as a team, your identity, and what you hang your hat on, either as an individual player or as a team. And then you have a full heart in your pursuit of it, you can't lose, I mean, maybe someone will beat you, but you can't lose. So it's pretty simple. And I think I asked, we got any Friday Night Light fans? Or I'm trying to think I think most of them knew that quote, so that was the idea. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I like the movie, so it was good.
Front row, second row on the right.
David Teal with the Daily Press. Tony, you mention often that you tell guys who maybe don't start or get the full complement of minutes. And be patient. Your time is coming. I can't tell you when, but it is. It's easy for you to say. How difficult is it for them to accept that and be patient? And on the flip side, are you pleased with the patience guys like Braxton and Mamadi and Jay have shown? Because at times, including yesterday, they've been invaluable for you.
Of course, they're a huge part of that team. Every guy is so valuable, and that's the hardest thing. These guys come from high school, and they're the main player, and sometimes delayed gratification is very hard in today's society with all of us. But for young people, it's more of the instant gratification, and those who are willing to usually wait and work, it's rewarding, and it's doing stuff for them beyond, which I think will produce fruit in their lives way past just this season. But that is the challenge. I'm sure friends, family, like, hey, you should be getting more opportunities. And I think that's also why there's such a transfer. The numbers are so big. But those usually who fight and wait it out, good things happen. So I couldn't be more proud of those guys. And, you know, there's at times they're playing big minutes and their time's still coming. And, you know, some guys, not everybody can play 30 minutes a game or 35, but I've liked their attitudes, and I've loved at just the right times they've stepped up.
Left side, third row.
Josh Kendall with the state. Was there a tipping point for your recruitment of international players, or is that just gradually grown as the game has grown that way?
Yeah, when I was at Washington State, trying to think who our first, was it Aaron Baines from Australia? You know, I had spent some time in Australia and New Zealand after playing, and then Kirk Penny, a guy that played for my father at Wisconsin, is like a little brother to me, is from New Zealand. When I lived over there, I got to know him. So one of my assistants, Ben Johnson, that was Washington State, played over there. So we had that connection. And then we got a couple guys from Europe. So it's just, when you're at Washington State, Virginia schools, I think sometimes finding those hidden gems, or guys that are academically sound, that are excited to come over. A lot of schools are doing it. Sometimes you can find players that maybe you wouldn't be in such a fight for here, or you would be in a fight. I'm saying if there's a player of that caliber, if you have connections, if you can get to them early, you can sometimes have a better chance to land them. Whereas if they're in the States, they're so exposed, and, you know, it's such a recruiting battle. So you just try to find your niches, and that's what we've done. Yeah, it's connections over there. It's probably, you know, more guys are exposed now with the internet and all that, but it was just trusting people, getting your eyes on them, you know, getting video, all those things, trying to assess the competition that they're playing against. You know, and you don't always get it right, but we've been fortunate where some of those guys have been terrific for us.
Front row on the left.
If you've already been asked this, I'll get it off the transcript. But are there advantages to being scared a little bit, or being challenged the way you were in the first half yesterday?
I already answered that, so you get off the transcript. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. No. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, that was a. You know, you felt certainly the way Gardner-Webb played, as I said, was challenging because of how they used their 4s and 5s, the way they were shooting, their quickness, and to get down like that and feel the crowd turn. And, you know, we were in that spot last year, and human nature says this could happen again, but you got to keep fighting. And that was the thing that I don't know if it was good or not, but we just talked about that at halftime. You got to fight. You can't panic, but you got to fight. And I thought, as I said, only the guys that played and were part of that team last year and that were in that locker room this year and understand all that was there will appreciate them responding the way they did in light of that. And like I said, I'm glad that all of us could experience that turnaround in that setting, which, you know, pressure, stress, those things, they put you in stuff. And you see some of the best players and best athletes in the world, you can come unraveled in that, and we have at times, and we fought through some of that stuff and came out on the, you know, the positive end. So I think that was important for sure.
Second row, right side.
Yeah, Coach, Ty and Kyle were talking about former players, how they stay in touch, they mentor, they text. One, what does that give your current guys, hearing from them, and what does it mean to you that the guys who, you know, are in the NBA or rehabbing from injuries, things like that, still take the time to be involved in the program?
It's everything. It kind of leads back to the question why you want success for the young men that you coach, because I know the kind of young men they'll become, and I know how they're going to pour back into the program and what they're about. So you just desperately want it when you have a healthy alumni base or former players that, you know, are helping your current players, or just come back and they work out with our strength coach and they keep in touch with us. That's some of the most rewarding stuff as a coach, I would say. That's the stuff that's going to last. I see that with my father when guys from the whatever teams he had, his high school players, they'll still go and visit with him. They'll play a round of golf, or they'll just go and sit, and my mom will make them their hot fudge sundaes that she used to make when my dad would recruit them, and they'll sit and tell stories, and they'll send me notes and all that. That's the good stuff. That's the lasting stuff. So you're bonded together through experiences, you know, with most of your guys through life. You really are, and that is so rewarding in this game. There's a lot of things, you know, that can be challenging, but those are the memories, and I think a lot of reason why many of the coaches do it and go through the things that we go through. And so we've got great former players all the way from my first year here up until now. Can't tell you how good they are. You guys know that. You've covered them.
This will be the last question for Coach.
Oh, no, you can pass it to someone else then.
Good. One more, Coach. Here on the right.
Tony, Eric Kalinich from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. The way the offense has changed this year with the sets that you guys are using, have the new offensive sets kind of become the best sets for the offense? Is the new stuff kind of the future of the UVA offense?
Yeah, I think you look at your personnel every year and you make adjustments, and a lot of the stuff was born out of either struggles you've had in years past or, again, personnel that you have and what spots they're in. So you're always challenging yourself as a coach. You have to keep improving. The game changes. You have to try. I mean, there's certain things that are constants, but certainly those are things that I think have helped us, and we worked hard on some of the things that have been key for us this year through the summer, fall, during the year, and you know, like I said, it's a couple things we've brought back from previous teams because we have that kind of personnel that can use it. So it's always evolving, and you know, is it the future of UVA offense? Kind of depends on the personnel, but you're always trying to move that needle.